My name is Ethan Carter, and for most of my life, I believed in loyalty, love, and the sanctity of marriage. I met my wife, Sophia, when we were in college. She was everything I ever wanted: smart, beautiful, and full of life. Together, we built a life that I thought was unshakable. But as I would soon learn, even the strongest foundations can crack when secrets and lies creep in. It all started with a feeling, an unsettling, gnawing sensation in my gut that something wasn't right. Sophia had become distant in recent months. First, I brushed it off as stress from her new job. She'd recently been promoted to a senior position at her marketing firm, and I knew the long hours and demanding workload were taking a toll on her. But there were little things I couldn't ignore. "Ethan, I have to work late again tonight," she said one evening, grabbing her coat as she headed for the door. She barely looked me in the eye. "That's the third time this week, Sophia," I replied, trying to keep my tone calm. "Are you sure everything's okay? You've been so busy lately." She hesitated for a moment, her hand lingering on the doorknob. "It's just work, Ethan. I'll be home late. Don't wait up." And with that, she was gone. At first, I tried to convince myself that I was overthinking things. But the signs were there, clear as day. She started guarding her phone like it held the nuclear codes, taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. She laughed at texts she wouldn't share with me, and when I asked who she was talking to, her answers were vague. "Oh, just a coworker," she'd say with a dismissive wave of her hand. Sophia and I had always been open with each other. We shared everything: our hopes, our fears, our dreams. But now it felt like there was a wall between us, one I couldn't break through no matter how hard I tried. One night, as I sat alone in the living room, staring at the flickering light of the television, I realized I couldn't keep ignoring the signs. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. The opportunity came unexpectedly. Sophia had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter, and for the first time in years, curiosity got the better of me. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the keyboard. "Don't do this, Ethan," I muttered to myself. "You're better than this." But the doubts in my mind were too loud to ignore. I opened her email, feeling a pang of guilt as I did. First, there was nothing unusual: work emails, newsletters, and receipts. But then I saw it. A string of messages from someone named Ryan. My heart sank as I clicked on the thread. The messages were casual at first, talking about work projects and office gossip. But as I scrolled further, the tone changed. "Last night was amazing." One message read, "I can't stop thinking about you." My hands trembled as I read Sophia's reply. "Me too. I wish we could spend more time together. I hate sneaking around like this." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Sophia, the woman I had loved and trusted for so many years, was having an affair. I closed the laptop and sat back in my chair, my mind racing. A part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to demand answers. But another part of me wasn't ready. I needed time to process what I had just discovered. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions of daily life: work, errands, small talk with Sophia, while the weight of her betrayal pressed down on me. I started paying closer attention to her behavior, looking for any clues that might confirm what I had read. One night, I decided to test her. "Sophia," I said as we sat down for dinner, "I was thinking we could go away for the weekend, just the two of us. It's been a while since we've had any time together." She looked up from her plate, her expression unreadable. "That sounds nice, Ethan, but I'm swamped at work right now. Maybe another time." Her words felt rehearsed, like she had already prepared an excuse. I nodded, pretending to accept her answer, but inside, my suspicions grew stronger. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I needed proof, something undeniable that would force her to confront the truth. That's when I decided to reach out to my old friend, Liam. Liam and I had been friends since high school. He worked as a private investigator, and though I hated the idea of spying on my own wife, I didn't see any other option. "Ethan, are you sure about this?" Liam asked when I met him at his office. "Once you go down this road, There's no turning back. I need to know, Liam, I replied, my voice firm. I can't keep living in the dark. He nodded, his expression serious. All right, I'll help you, but you need to prepare yourself for whatever we find. This isn't going to be easy. I left Liam's office that day with a mix of fear and determination. I didn't know what he would uncover, but deep down, I already knew the truth. The woman I loved was hiding something, and it was only a matter of time before her secrets came to light. As the days passed, Liam kept me updated on his progress. She's meeting him after work, he told me over the phone one evening. A guy named Ryan. They've been seeing each other for a while. Hearing his words made my stomach churn, but I couldn't stop now. I needed to see it for myself. The night Liam showed me the photos, I felt like my world had shattered. There she was, my wife, holding hands with another man, laughing and smiling as if she didn't have a care in the world. I stared at the images, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't believe this, I whispered. I'm sorry, Ethan, Liam said, his voice filled with sympathy. I know this hurts, but at least now you know the truth. I thanked him and left his office, clutching the envelope of photos like it was a ticking time bomb. When I got home, I sat in the dark, staring at the evidence of Sophia's betrayal. I knew I had a choice to make. I could confront her, demand answers, and try to salvage what was left of our marriage. Or I could walk away, leaving behind the life we had built together. But one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. The days following my discovery were some of the hardest I've ever endured. Every time I looked at Sophia, every time I heard her voice, felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I wanted to scream at her, demand an explanation, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Not yet. Instead, I played the role of the loving husband, pretending nothing was wrong. I needed time to think, to plan my next move. Confronting her without a strategy felt reckless, and I wasn't ready to let her lies dictate my actions. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, I glanced at her out of the corner of my eye. She was scrolling through her phone, her face lit up by the screen. She smiled faintly, the same smile she used to give me. Who are you texting? I asked casually, forcing my voice to sound light. She didn't even look up. Just work stuff. You know how it is. I nodded, pretending to accept her answer, but my chest tightened. The lies came so easily to her now. I started paying closer attention to her routines. She left the house earlier than usual some mornings, claiming she had early meetings. Other nights, she came home late, blaming client dinners or deadlines. I didn't believe a word of it anymore. One night, I decided to follow her. It was a Friday, and she had told me she'd be working late. Don't wait up, she said as she kissed me on the cheek and grabbed her purse. As soon as she left, I grabbed my keys and followed her car at a safe distance. My heart pounded as I tailed her through the city streets, my mind racing with possibilities. She didn't go to her office. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of a small, dimly lit restaurant. My stomach churned as I watched her get out of the car and walk inside. Moments later, a man joined her, a tall, dark-haired guy who looked to be in his early 30s. He greeted her with a hug that lingered just a little too long. I clenched the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white. That must be Ryan, the man who had stolen my wife. I stayed in the car, watching them through the restaurant's large windows. They sat at a corner table, leaning in close as they talked. Sophia laughed at something he said, her hand brushing against his. It was a scene straight out of a romantic movie, but it felt like a nightmare to me. I wanted to storm into the restaurant, confront them right then and there, but I held back. This wasn't the time. I needed to stay in control, even if every fiber of my being was screaming for revenge. When she came home later that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table, pretending to read a book. Hey, she said, dropping her purse on the counter. You're still up? Yeah, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. How was work? Exhausting, she said with a sigh. I'm going to take a shower and head to bed. I watched her walk away, my mind spinning. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she come home to me after spending the evening with another man? The next day I called Liam. I followed her last night, I told him. And? He asked. She met him at a restaurant. They looked comfortable. Too comfortable. Liam sighed. I know this is hard, Ethan, but you need to stay calm. Rushing into a confrontation won't help you. Let me do some more digging. If you want to confront her, you'll need more than just what you saw. He was right, of course. As much as I hated waiting, I knew I needed to be patient. Over the next week, Liam continued his investigation. He sent me photos of Sophia and Ryan together at restaurants, in parks, even leaving a hotel. Each image felt like another dagger to the heart, but I forced myself to look at them. I needed to face the truth, no matter how painful it was. One evening, Liam called me with new information. Ethan, I think you should hear this, he said. What is it? I managed to get some audio recordings. They're not great quality, but you'll get the gist. He sent me the files, and I listened to them alone in my car. Hearing Sophia's voice, so warm and familiar, speaking to Ryan with such intimacy made my blood boil. I hate lying to Ethan, she said in one recording. But I don't know what else to do. I can't leave him. Not yet. Why not? Ryan asked. Because it's complicated. He's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. Then why are you still with him? Ryan pressed. There was a long pause before she answered. I don't know. Her words echoed in my mind long after the recording ended. She didn't know. That was her excuse for tearing my life apart. I sat in the car for what felt like hours, staring at the dashboard. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to throw the evidence in her face and demand answers. But another part of me wanted to walk away, to leave her and her lies behind without giving her the satisfaction of an explanation. When I finally went back inside, Sophia was in the living room, scrolling through her phone as usual. She looked up and smiled at me, the same smile that used to make my heart skip a beat. Hey, she said. How was your day? I forced a smile. It was fine, but it wasn't fine. Nothing was fine anymore. And as I sat down across from her, I realized that I couldn't keep pretending. The time for confrontation was coming, and when it did, there would be no turning back. The days felt heavier now, each one dragging on as I carried the weight of what I knew. I hadn't confronted Sophia yet, but the truth simmered beneath the surface of every conversation. Every glance, every forced smile. It was like living with a stranger who had stolen the life I thought we shared. I spent hours replaying the audio recordings Liam had given me, staring at the photos he'd taken, and trying to piece together how we had gotten here. How had I missed the signs? How had I let this happen? One evening, I decided I couldn't keep this to myself any longer. I needed to talk to someone. I called my sister, Claire. She'd always been my rock, the one person I could count on to give me honest advice. No sugarcoating. When she answered, her voice was cheerful. Ethan, it's been a while. How are you? I hesitated, unsure of how to begin. Not great, Claire. I need to talk to you about something. Her tone immediately shifted. What's wrong? Is it Sophia? I sighed. Yeah, it's Sophia. I think No, I know she's cheating on me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Ethan? She said finally, her voice soft. Are you sure? I have proof, I said, my throat tightening.
Photo, message.
Even recordings. She's been seeing some guy named Ryan. Claire let out a heavy sigh. Oh, Ethan, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to do, Claire, I admitted. Part of me wants to confront her, but another part of me, I don't even know if it's worth it. Listen, she said firmly. You deserve answers. If she's been lying to you, she owes you an explanation. But you need to be prepared for whatever she says. This isn't going to be easy. I know, I said quietly. Do you want me to come over? She offered.
No.
I said quickly. I need to handle this on my own. But thanks for listening, Claire. It means a lot. Always, she said. And Ethan? Whatever happens, you're gonna get through this. You're stronger than you think. Her words gave me some comfort, but they didn't make the decision any easier. That night, as I lay in bed next to Sophia, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The lies were suffocating me. The next morning, I woke up early, determined to confront her. I waited until she came downstairs, still in her pajamas, sipping her coffee. "Sophia," I said, my voice steady but firm. "We need to talk." She looked at me surprised. "About what?" "About us," I said, gesturing for her to sit down. She hesitated, then sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Okay," she said slowly. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "I know about Ryan." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked genuinely shocked. But then her expression hardened. "What are you talking about?" "Don't," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Don't lie to me, Sophia. I know everything. I've seen the photos. I've heard the recordings. I know you've been seeing him." She stared at me, her face pale. You've been spying on me?" "I had to," I said, my voice breaking. "You weren't going to tell me the truth, were you?" She looked down at her hands, silent. "Why, Sophia?" I asked, my voice filled with pain. "Why would you do this to us?" "To me?" She didn't answer at first. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with tears. "I don't know, Ethan," she said quietly. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "Didn't mean for what to happen?" I demanded. "You didn't mean to betray me? To lie to me? To destroy our marriage?" "It wasn't like that," she said, her voice trembling. "It just happened. I didn't plan it." "That's not good enough," I said, shaking my head. "You don't just accidentally have an affair, Sophia. You made a choice. Over and over again, you chose to lie to me, to sneak around behind my back. How could you do that?" She wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. "I don't have an excuse, Ethan. I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry," I repeated, my voice rising. "You think sorry is going to fix this? Do you even understand what you've done?" "I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But you did," I said, my voice cold. "You didn't just hurt me, Sophia. You destroyed everything we built together. Everything I thought we had." She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "Do you love him?" I asked, the words catching in my throat. She hesitated, and that hesitation was all the answer I needed. "Unbelievable," I said, standing up. "I gave you everything, Sophia. I trusted you, and this is how you repay me?" "I don't know what you want me to say," she said, her voice breaking. "I made a mistake, terrible mistake. But I never stopped loving you, Ethan." I laughed bitterly. "You have a funny way of showing it." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Ethan, please," she said, her voice desperate. "I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't give up on us." I stared at her, my heart breaking all over again. "I don't know if there's anything left to fix," I said quietly. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her sitting there in silence. I didn't know where we would go from here, but one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same. The days after our confrontation were a blur. Sophia tried to act as if everything was normal, but the tension in the house was suffocating. Every conversation felt forced, every glance between us heavy with unspoken words. I avoided her as much as I could, throwing myself into work or spending hours driving aimlessly around the city. Anything to escape the crushing weight of what had happened. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. Closure? Clarity? Forgiveness? None of it seemed within reach. The truth was, I felt lost, adrift in a sea of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. One evening, as I sat in my car outside a quiet park, my phone buzzed. It was Liam. "Hey," he said when I answered. "How are you holding up?" I sighed. "Barely." I confronted her. And she admitted to it, I said, my voice flat. Said she didn't mean for it to happen, that she made a mistake. Liam was silent for a moment. Do you believe her? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to, but how can I? She lied to me for months. How am I supposed to trust anything she says now? You don't have to decide anything right now, Liam said. Take your time. Figure out what you want. What I want, I repeated bitterly. What I wanted was the life we had before all of this. But that's gone now, isn't it? Maybe, Liam said carefully. But that doesn't mean you can't rebuild something new. Whether that's with her or without her, that's up to you. His words stuck with me as I drove home. Rebuilding. Starting over. Was that even possible? When I walked through the door, Sophia was waiting for me in the living room. She looked up as I entered, her eyes red and puffy from crying. Ethan, she said softly, can we talk? I hesitated, then nodded. All right. She gestured for me to sit, but I remained standing. What is it? She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. I've been thinking about what you said, about what I did. And I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how sorry I am. I never wanted to hurt you. You keep saying that, I said, my voice cold. But it doesn't change anything, does it? No, she admitted, tears streaming down her face. But I need you to understand. I was lost, Ethan. I felt like we were drifting apart, like you didn't see me anymore. And Ryan, he made me feel wanted, like I mattered. I stared at her, my jaw tightening. So this is my fault? Is that what you're saying? No, she said quickly. I'm not blaming you. I take full responsibility for what I did. But I need you to know why it happened. Not to excuse it, but to explain it. I shook my head, anger bubbling to the surface. You could have talked to me, Sophia. You could have told me how you were feeling. Instead, you chose to lie to me, to betray me. How am I supposed to come back from that? She looked down, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I don't know, she whispered, but I want to try. I love you, Ethan. I always have, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove that to you. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to hold onto the love we once had, to find a way to move past this. But the pain was too fresh, the wounds too deep. I need time, I said finally. She looked up at me, hope flickering in her eyes. I'll give you all the time you need. Just, please don't give up on us. I didn't respond. Instead, I turned and walked upstairs, leaving her alone in the living room. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Memories of our life together played in my mind like a cruel movie. Our wedding day, the vacations we'd taken, the quiet moments we'd shared. I wanted to hold onto those memories, to believe they still meant something. But they felt tainted now, overshadowed by her betrayal. The next morning, I made a decision. I needed space, time to think, to figure out what I wanted and whether I could ever forgive her. Sophia, I said as we sat at the breakfast table, I think we need some time apart. She looked up at me, her face pale. What do you mean? I'm going to stay with Liam for a while, I said. I need to clear my head, to figure out what comes next. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, please, don't go. We can work through this together. I can't, I said, my voice firm. Not right now. She didn't argue. She simply nodded, her hands trembling as she clutched her coffee mug. I packed a bag that afternoon and left the house without looking back. Liam welcomed me with open arms, offering me a place to stay and a shoulder to lean on. You did the right thing, he said as we sat in his living room that evening. Sometimes you need distance to see things clearly. I just don't know if I can ever forgive her, I said, my voice heavy with emotion. You don't have to decide that now, Liam said. Take it one day at a time. And so I did. Each day felt like a battle, a fight to reclaim some sense of normalcy, to find a way forward. I didn't know where this journey would lead me, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to rebuild. with or without Sophia. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Living at Liam's place gave me the space I needed, but it also forced me to confront the silence, the quiet moments when my thoughts became too loud to ignore. I replayed everything in my mind, the lies, the betrayal, the confrontation. And yet, amidst the anger and heartbreak, there were still memories of the love we once shared. Sophia reached out a few times during those weeks. Her messages were short, careful, and filled with regret. "I miss you, Ethan. Please let me know if you're ready to talk. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I hope you'll give me a chance to show you I can change. I'll wait for as long as it takes. I love you." I didn't respond to most of them. I wasn't ready, but her words lingered in my mind, and I couldn't ignore the effort she was making. Liam, as always, was my sounding board. One evening, as we sat on his balcony overlooking the city, he handed me a beer and said, "You've been quiet lately. What's on your mind?" I sighed, staring at the skyline. "I don't know if I can forgive her, Liam, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm ready to let go of her either." He nodded, taking a sip of his drink. "Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about deciding whether the person who hurt you is worth the effort to rebuild. Only you can answer that." His words stuck with me. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. I thought about the life we had built together, the promises we had made, and the person Sophia used to be. I thought about the pain she had caused me, but also the moments of joy and love that had defined our relationship before it all fell apart. The next morning, I made a decision. I texted Sophia, "Can we talk?" She responded almost immediately, "Yes, anytime. Just tell me when and where." We agreed to meet at a small park near our house, the same park where we used to go for walks when we first started dating. As I sat on a bench, waiting for her, my heart raced. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew this conversation would determine the future of our relationship. When she arrived, she looked nervous, clutching her hands together as she approached me. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," I replied, gesturing for her to sit down. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence was heavy, filled with everything we wanted to say but didn't know how to. Finally, I broke the silence. "I've been thinking a lot," I began, "about us, about what happened, and I need to know, why, Sophia? Why did you do it?" She took a deep breath, tears welling up in her eyes. "Ethan, I've asked myself that question 1,000 times, and all I can say is, I was selfish. I felt like I was losing myself, like I wasn't enough anymore. And instead of talking to you, instead of trying to fix things, I made the worst mistake of my life. I betrayed you, and I hate myself for it." Her voice broke, and she wiped her eyes. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm working on myself. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why I let this happen. And if there's even the smallest chance that we can fix this, I'll do whatever it takes." I listened to her, my emotions a whirlwind of anger, sadness, and something else I couldn't quite name. "Do you still love him?" I asked, my voice steady but firm. She shook her head immediately.
No.
"It was never love, Ethan. It was a distraction, a way to escape from the problems I didn't want to face. But it wasn't real. What we have is real, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that to you if you let me." I looked away, staring at the trees swaying gently in the wind. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again," I admitted. "You broke something in me, Sophia, something I don't know if I can fix." She reached for my hand, but stopped short, as if afraid to touch me. "I know," she said quietly, "and I'll understand if you can't. But I want you to know that I'll never stop trying to make it right." For a long time, we sat there in silence. Finally, I stood up. "I need more time," I said. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait." As I walked away, I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a glimmer of something I hadn't felt in weeks: hope. The truth was, I didn't know what the future held for us. Maybe we could rebuild what we had lost, or maybe it was too broken to fix. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like I was starting to find my way again. And no matter what happened, I knew one thing for certain. I would come out of this stronger. Whether it was with Sophia by my side or on my own, I would rebuild my life, one step at a time.